Hello everyone, welcome to Redmen TV. I'm Steve Ho. I'm joined by Charlotte Hennessy for this very special episode where we'll be speaking about Hillsborough Law. Charlotte's dad, Jimmy, was one of the 97 people who were unlawfully killed at Hillsborough back in 1989. Since the inquests have come out, Charlotte's been part of a team who have been calling for the introduction of a Hillsborough Law. Charlotte, thanks for joining us. Could you just let us know what is the Hillsborough Law and what is it that you guys are trying to achieve?
So a Hillsborough Law is made up of different elements. In if we were to sit here and talk about it in full, we'd be here all day. But in short, a Hillsborough Law it looks at the way we were treated over the years and is an attempt to sort of put those things right, if you like. So the first part is that it will give a legal duty of candour to all public servants, civil servants, professionals. And I think that there's sort of like a misunderstanding that people think that those things are already out there.
I was surprised they weren't.
Yeah, so I think, and we do, don't we? I'm a professional myself. I work for the NHS myself, and I have a legal duty of candour within my professional role that I am responsible for all cares I give all documentation and, my choices, decisions and my conduct. And that falls under a legal duty of candour within the NHS. But if we look outside of that and that organisation, it doesn't really exist. So, we've recently seen last week, haven't we, that the IOPC have, they've been doing yet another report and another look into how South Yorkshire Police conducted their investigation and everything they did thereafter. And what they've said is that the law at the time, it allowed them to put their best case forward. So that's where we've ended up with sanitising evidence, taking out the bits that make them look bad, turning it onto Liverpool fans. And so with the legal duty of candour side of Hillsborough Law, it will make that a criminal offence. Yep. You can't be doing that. And so right from investigation stage, there will be a legal duty to ensure that warts and all are shared.
And this is for all state-related incidents. Like, for example, Grenfell is one of these kind of things.
Yeah.
As well. It isn't just about the Hillsborough disaster. It's other options. That's right, isn't it?
Yeah, or just anything. I mean, I think the perfect one to use as an example is what we've just recently seen in Southport. So look at what that horrible creature did to all those babies, okay? And now we're finding that there have been multiple different agencies and professionals involved with that horrible person. And so now, I think if it's passed in its entirety as we want it to be, the Southport inquiry will probably be the first thing that comes under Hillsborough Law, So they won't be allowed to sanitise their involvement and, they won't be allowed to play it down. They will have to disclose how has this individual been seen by so many different organisations and still been able to walk into a Taylor Swift dance class and kill those children. So it's not just for, like huge disasters like the Hillsborough disaster or Manchester Arena terrorist attack. It will be, things local and just all investigations really. Because we know that like with the statutory inquiry, that's done so under oath. There are laws when it comes to statutory inquiry, but like with a public inquiry or with inquests, there isn't a legal duty. You can literally refuse to give evidence, and that's what happened in my dad's case. For us as a family, it was a massive shock after the Hillsborough Independent Panel released their report. That was like 23 years after my dad had died, and we kind of knew, you're expecting the worst, if you like. So we were then told 41 people probably could have survived, and I just knew my dad was going to be one of them. I don't know why, but I just did. And then days later, we had to go to another meeting and it was confirmed. So I think it was then like, probably a few months before my dad's individual hearing, I just assumed that it was an inquest, and like for the biggest sporting disaster in British history, I just thought everybody would be called to give evidence, and because we were getting everything out in the open this time, so everything was going to be done properly. And it was about a few months before, and like I was so mentally unwell. I was a nervous wreck. I was like so overwhelmed and naive, and to how this was going to be. And one of my legal barristers said, police officers involved in your dad's case of they're refusing to give evidence. And I was like, what do you mean refusing to give evidence? Like, what? I don't understand what you mean. It's an inquest into how somebody died who was technically in their care. Why are they refusing? Well, one of them saying that he's too elderly now, and the other one saying that his mental health's it's too bad. He wouldn't cope. But these two men had kept it to themselves by that time, it was for 25 years. They kept it to themselves that when they went to see me dad in the gym and sort of like try and find identity, they unzipped the body bag and my dad had vomited inside it and he was hot and sweaty. So I was just like, well, no, I don't understand what you mean. So they've gone to a body that they thought was dead that's actually presenting as not being, and they never told anyone about it, but they're telling us now. Well, yeah. And now you're telling me that they're not going to come and give evidence about that at an inquest into his death, and they're allowed to do that. Yeah. So for me, it was like, well, how is this closure? How is this like,
fair?
Yeah. You know what I mean? Like it's supposed to be, the end of that chapter and about gaining truth into what happened to those, at the time it was 96 still. And it was infuriating to me that these two police officers, the last people to touch my dad, were allowed to turn around and say, no, we can't. What about my mental health? See, I was so unwell, as were a majority of other people. And so, yeah, they won't be allowed to do that anymore either.
It is worth mentioning as well, the Prime Minister had said at some point that they wanted to pass a Hillsborough Law bill by the anniversary of the disaster, which obviously we know is actually not that far away, April 15th. There is some concern, if I'm right in saying, Charles, that the bill that it potentially could be passed might not be exactly what you guys and everybody else wants there are. And that part in particular, the duty of candour around public authorities and officials is one of the sticking points. I think some of the other parts of the law, and there's plenty of them, you guys go to hillsboroughLawNow.org and you'll find all you need to know on the specifics. But this part in particular is a potential sticking point here. In that it feels like there's a potential here that we might get a watered down version. Is that correct? Yeah, definitely. I think that's a massive concern for us because, this is for a lot of people, the campaign for Hillsborough, for the 97, for our survivors, for our fans has always been about getting the truth and getting the truth out there. And we're now going into, the 36th anniversary where yet again, just last month, we've been told, South Yorkshire Police did sanitise their evidence. They did put their best case forward because the law allowed them to. But also part of that report by the IOPC yet again states that there is absolutely no evidence whatsoever that Liverpool fans did anything wrong. There is no evidence of criminal activity by any Liverpool fan on the day whatsoever. Doesn't exist. It never did. And so I just think, for us, the legal duty of candour on a personal level across our whole fan base is so important. So, I think there naturally is a worry, isn't there? We've been wronged so many times. People say they're going to do something, then they don't do it. Or they say they're going to commit to something because it makes them look good in the public eye. And then they sort of backtrack a little bit. And, and if I'm being perfectly honest with you, if the Prime Minister does go back on this, it won't be the first time that he personally has made a promise to Hillsborough families and survivors and then not done it, not followed it through. So naturally, we're all very cautious. Absolutely. It's worth saying as well, am I right in saying, like, if this is introduced how we want it, it can't really go back, but it stops these things happening again in the future. That's right. So unfortunately, like those police officers example, they're not gonna have to do anything now. That's kind of ship sailed, but and hopefully nothing like this happens again. But we all know things happen in the future. It's you're almost doing this for the families in the future who so they don't have to go through what you and the other families have gone through.
I think like collectively, Hillsborough family members have always we've always agreed that if anything good could ever come out of this, is that we make sure nobody ever goes through what we've been through.
Yeah.
You know, this is my norm. My dad was 6 when I died. I'm now 42, 4 children of my own. And I don't know any different. Do you know what I mean? And I worry for my own children. I'm glad that, you know, they've never experienced anything as deeply as I have, but Hillsborough still affects them. So, you know, for me as a wife and a mum and a daughter, it's about showing my children and future nieces and nephews that this is, you know, it's been a really, really awful situation, a horrible way to lose me dad, a horrible way for them to have to learn about their granddad. However, we've done something right for other people to make sure that they never experience anything like this.
Yeah, absolutely. I think everyone can agree that's exactly what needs to happen. On that then, obviously we've got a lot of Liverpool supporters and actually people from all over the world who will be watching this now. There is a campaign trying to make a change. Is there any messages, any support? What would you like the wider fan base to be able to do in backing you guys on this? I
just think, you know, it would be amazing if we could get this message out, you know, a little bit further than LFC.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Because, you know, it could affect anybody at any time.
It's not a football thing.
It's not just a football thing. Yeah. And it doesn't just apply to our club, does it? You know what I mean? And so it would be amazing if we could all stand united and sort of send out the message together in solidarity. But yeah, you know, the more people that get on board, the more people that support the Hillsborough Law, the more people that ask for support from their MPs, the better. Strength in numbers, as they say, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And like I say, we're expecting something to come out, I guess. We don't know exactly what's going to be from the Prime Minister over the next few weeks. As and when that happens, again, no one unfortunately, we're all holding our breath and we're all kind of in the dark a little bit about this one as well. I suppose in a way, Charles, that's a bit of a concern that this is happening. I don't know, not behind the scenes might be the wrong words, but you know, and there are a lot of politicians, right, who want the Hillsborough in full. I know Ian Byrne, for example, my MP is right. He wants it out in full. He's a Labour MP. He wants it out in full.
He does.
It does. Is there a case here where there is just a lot of politics at play again?
Yeah, I mean that's always a worry, isn't it? Again, and I think that you know, not just Liverpool fans, but people all over the UK. They are worried when politics are involved because, you know, who can you trust? But then at the same time, I'll never forget Andy Burnham going to Anfield for the anniversary. Yeah. I was still in hospital. I'd given birth to my second son, Joe, 2 days before. And because I was pregnant, I'd kept me distance from Hillsborough stuff. Then, you know, it was still nothing. There was no current investigation. There was nothing, and it just sort of kept me distance. And because with being pregnant and having the baby, I wasn't aware that Andy Burnham was going to be at Anfield. And I remember my mum coming to visit, and I said to her, "What the friggin' hell's he doing in Anfield? Why? Who's invited him? Why would?" And we were like, "Why would the Hillsborough Family Support Group do that?" And who knew that now he's my second favourite Blue Nose after Stevie Kelly? Because, you know, the man and Steve Rotherham, Ian Byrne, they have tirelessly worked to ensure this and ensure that it's done right. They've continuously given Hillsborough families and survivors a voice, even when they've not been very popular for doing so. They've still gone ahead and done it. And I think, you know, credit's where it's due. Maria Eagles, another one. What a woman. Like, just Alison McGovern. So, you know, where there is worry when it comes to politics, we've got really good people on our side.
Yeah, fingers on that. Actually, you need that, but actually, you need the support of the people as well. So,
yeah,
if you guys can, like I say, if you're on Twitter or X these days, go to @NowHillsborough. There's the website as well, hillsboroughLawNow.org. Go and get involved, back the campaign, speak to your MPs, talk to your people, get this message spread far and wider. When this law does come out, hopefully it does in the next few weeks, it is in full and covers all these things that are vitally, vitally important for a massive message. Charlotte, thanks for coming in, sharing the story.
Thanks so much.
Absolutely. We're glad that we can
really appreciate it.
If we can ask you for one thing, they do support the campaign. You can all imagine how important it is that this happens, not for now, but also for the future. Hopefully no one ever needs to use it, but if they do, yeah, it'll be vitally important that it's there. So yeah, thanks very much for watching and listening. Take it away. See you next time.